All right, Mr. Brian, we are live. Are you ready to do this, brother?
I'm ready to do this, man. Let's do
Let's
it.
run it.
KTTV, giving you what you need. Motivation, education unleashed. H-Town representing, we forever keep it rolling. Join the conversation with inspirational stories. Thought provoking, feel that energy. Kendrick Thomas aiming to lift the community. True indeed, tune in, come and see. Giving you what you need. KTTV, let's go. KTTV.
What it do, KTTV? This is KT, and you are tuned in to another episode of Education Unleashed. And on tonight's episode, I have the man himself, top 100 leaders in education, founder of Spark Ed University, and the Amazon best-selling co-author of Thoughts from the Man Cave, all the way from the Man Cave, Mr. Naftali Brian. How you doing tonight, Mr. Brian?
Oh, man, I'm doing good.
Look, man, I want to say thank you for taking some time out to schedule, especially on a nice Thursday football night and everything else we got going, to kind of give us some game about the work that you're doing, especially in a time where there's so much going on with these student loans and all this good stuff, man. So Thank you for pulling up on us.
Oh, yeah, man. Great to be here.
Yes, sir. Now, before we get started, as you know, it's been crazy out here. So we like to start with a wellness check, man. So how have you been doing? And how are you staying sane around all this stuff out here?
Well, I'm doing great. Part of the, I went through a major transition between August and now. Early August, actually, September 4th,
yes, sir.
Actually got married.
Okay, congratulations.
So I'm a newlywed, been to the honeymoon, went to Montego Bay, Jamaica. They treated us like kings. And then I came back. I'd already put in my 2-week notice, and I started another job on September 20th.
Yes, sir.
So I'm sane for all the transition because it's new. It's upgrades and everything in my life. That's part of the reason why I'm sane. I get to hang out with my wife, and we're empty nesters, so it's just me and her, so we get to just hang. Well, us and a dog. That's like a dog. The other way I'm keeping sane is I'm not engulfing myself in a lot of the news. I'm reading enough to be informed, but I'm not reading enough to formulate too many positions or stuff like that, because then you start messing up your mind and all that other type of stuff. So I read enough to learn, know what's going on, be current. I'm watching the stock market a lot because I like investing, but other than that, I'm trying to relax. I developed a seal, as I say, over my apartment door. And as soon as I walk in there, basically all the foolishness that could have been, whether it was a great day or a bad day, I leave it there at the door. So because I made that kind of border, I think that's what keeps me sane. Yeah,
man. Look, well, so many things, like you said, just being able to take that time for yourself, being able to kind of be in the moment. But one thing you said was that stock market, man. That stock market will take all that practice that you're doing away, depending on some days in that market, especially around this time, man.
Yeah, but you know what? It can, if you during the pandemic, one of the things at our church, we had like a thing called 21 Days of Productivity. And one of the things I wanted to do was I actually took a Coursera course on emotional intelligence, because I had heard a preacher say something about it, and then one of the tips from Warren Buffett was that wealth can be had or lost based off emotional intelligence. The emotional intelligent people right now are looking for the sales in the stock market.
Yes, sir.
The other people are looking at the losses as a loss, when really it's just getting what you want at a cheaper rate. It's no different than, maybe getting some signed Jordans from Jordan for free. They're very valuable if you know how to do it and how to have the right emotional intelligence. So because I did that, investing in myself, I want to say that was 2020. In doing that, it made, what's going on now a whole lot easier, because I practice self-awareness and do all that type of stuff. And I know where I'm at 90% of the time mentally, enough to where if I need to self-correct, I can self-correct. So that I think that's what's part of the things is what's keeping me saying I will read some of the stuff in the news and I'll know when I need to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. And
That's
that's
from
the
the
biggest
emotional
piece.
intelligence part. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the biggest piece, man.
Mhm.
So just thinking about the work that you're doing, kind of jumping into our conversation for the night, and we're talking about money for college.
Mhm.
I think as a football coach, I used to always get that from my head coach. Grades equal money, right?
Yeah.
Scholarships, all that good stuff. And
Mhm.
so sometimes we learn that later. And so just listening to your story, you like, okay, well, let me try something. And
Mhm.
I think it was for your graduate degree, correct?
No, actually, it was for my associate's degree.
Okay,
Most
you started
people,
from the scratch.
yeah, most people don't know.
Yeah.
I think what makes it my story unique is all the stuff I've done.
Mhm.
I don't have a graduate degree and I don't have a bachelor's degree. All I have is associate's degree.
Come on, brother.
But part of that was on purpose. So right now I'm actually thinking about going to get my bachelor's degree, but some of the stuff we'll talk about later is not preventing me from doing it,
Mhm.
but it's the bachelor degree or degrees in general for me was not as important because all of the opportunities I've gotten or received weren't degree based. They were how I got my degree based. And so my how for me or my why is far more important than the what of a degree. And so most people don't know that. And it makes me chuckle, but it also helps other students understand that it's not necessarily the degree you get. It may actually depend on how you got it, may be a bigger success than actually having that credential.
Man, that was powerful right there, brother.
Yeah.
Very, very powerful.
Mhm.
Like I say, when I think about high school, they need to hear that,
Yeah.
just because it's a lot of pressure. That's why I'm
Mm.
so glad that I get to talk to kids about one, that 4-year degree, but also that technical.
Mhm.
Because maybe it's not that 4-year, maybe it is that certificate, but then once again, how are you gonna get there?
How you gonna get there? Yeah.
Yes, sir, man. So right now, I guess give us a little bit of insight on you and your current role. Matter of fact, just talk to me about your current role. Then tell me, how did you start Spargate University, man? Talk to me about that story.
Okay. So my current role, the role I just started on September 20th, is a child care scholarship coordinator at the United Way of San Antonio in Bexar County.
Yeah.
And how I got there was before the job I just resigned from was I was a senior specialist in student success in the registrar's office at St. Philip's College, which is, believe it or not, in San Antonio. It's the only Hispanic serving institution and historically black college university in the entire country. It's the only school with that dual designation. And it's one of the oldest HBCUs, but it just so happened to be a community college. Was started in 1868. And so I actually graduated from there in 2015. So to back it up, my educational journey was I actually failed an Algebra 2 test, my Algebra 2 test final, my high school, senior year of my high school. And so I actually did not walk the stage until I actually graduated from college. I went to summer school in high school, got married. I'm 43 years old now, just to give you some context, and I graduated in 2015. So that ought to give you, as a high school student or non-traditional student, some type of context.
For sure.
And so I started back in school in 2010, and I chose the school because I knew I was going to get financial aid. So I knew the entire time I was not going to go to college for the degree because I worked with too many people who were, to me, unintelligent with degrees. And so I kept thinking, why would I go in debt to be dumb? Right? Because most of the people I knew, they didn't have any common sense. They were book smart, but they, for
It's not
whatever
that
reason, they
common.
weren't. Yeah, it just was like,
Yeah.
you're too smart.
Yeah.
And so I decided to go to community college because I knew didn't want to get student loan debt. And I figured there was a way that I could get paid to go to school. So I originally started going to school because it became a revenue stream. So getting a degree was just part of me getting revenue at first. And so right around 2013, I joined the student organization from there is when I started getting scholarships. So from 2010 to 2013, I didn't get scholarships. I started really getting them in 2013. And so they just started coming like out of nowhere, just crazy stuff. It got so bad that between like 2013 and 2015, organizations would inbox me scholarships to apply for because I had networked and done some other type of stuff to get it. And so not only did I graduate with 2 degrees from 2 different schools, I also graduated with 3 level 1 certificates and 4 marketable skill achievement certificates, all while going to more than one school at the same time, not paying for it. And I wound up doing an internship at one of the places that gave me a scholarship. And then a year later, I studied abroad in China. So my educational journey is crazy because it's to be a non-traditional student with kids. I had kids in high school while I was doing this.
Yeah. Wow.
So to balance all that type of stuff was crazy. And then right around 2017, I was on LinkedIn and a lady on a doctor in Washington, D.C. said, "How much do you charge for your services?" What was happening was everything I learned about education, I was just posting it. So anything, any articles, anything like that, I was just putting it out there. And I really didn't have a system to charge. I was just putting my name out there, and not necessarily me. I was just putting resources out there, and people were equating resources with me. And so she said, "Well, how much do you charge?" I said, "Well, I don't have anything to charge for." She said, "Develop an invoice." I said, "Okay." So I did it for like $25. I have not talked to that lady since. A year later, I got a scholarship to go to a branding class at one of the entrepreneurial incubators here in San Antonio. Sat with the lady, and she said, "You're the person I wish I had met while I was in college because I'm doing branding, but I got my degree in biology because everybody told me that's how I get a good job. It wasn't what I wanted to do with my life. So I've got student loan debt and I've got a degree that I'm not using. Meanwhile, had I talked to somebody like yourself, I'd have been working my passion the entire time." So she actually helped me build Spark at University for free. She actually built the website, did the colors and all the other type of stuff. So Spark Ed started from a scholarship. And what it wound up evolving into is to basically a program. It's about student success, scholarships, and funding college is just one part of it. And so that's basically how it started. Now, I just launched my course March 1st. I was battling with it because I didn't know if it was good enough. But it was one of those things I was like, man, just put it out there. And if it blesses somebody, great. I don't charge a whole lot for it because it's not for me to eat. I have a job, so I don't need it to eat. And
Come on, man.
It's basically just built to help students with stuff that they probably are not thinking because most of the time people around them are not thinking the same thing. And they just don't know. They don't know it. Yeah.
So, man, when you said the scholarships came to the inbox, people started reaching out. Now, my networking looked like me paying for school and getting these student loans. So, talk to me about the networking as a young college student, as a young man. Like, how can I start to network to get myself into places where I can get those kind of offers in the inbox?
Well, what happened was I was in a leadership lab, we call it, for the Alamo College of Student Leadership Institute, and they just brought up networking. And so I had a LinkedIn account, but I really wasn't using it. So for some crazy reason, I was getting ready to apply for a scholarship, and I read the parameters for the scholarship. And one of the parameters was you have to upload an official transcript. Well, even then, I know you could not upload an official transcript because even if it's electronic, depending on who it gets sent to will determine if it's official or not. The piece of paper is official, but the delivery system makes it or breaks it from it being official. I learned that when I started working at the college. I was guessing that as a student. So what I did was they had to contact us. So I just hit the contact us, sent an email, and asked the question that I already had answered for myself. I was already going to go on my school website and copy and paste my unofficial transcript and upload it. I just wanted to ask to see if that was something I could do. I got a person's name. I went on LinkedIn, found the person, connected with the person. And then I didn't realize I was so far ahead of the application season. I was like a month ahead. So what I started doing was everything I was doing in student organizations, I was posting it. I had I forgot the app. I had an old BlackBerry. And whatever the app was, it would post to Twitter, Facebook, and all that stuff at the same time. And so what happened was the person that I contacted wind up remembering me when I put in my scholarship application. As a matter of fact, they told me, hey, I remember you, and I remember seeing you doing a whole bunch of stuff on LinkedIn. After I found that out, that was my mode for doing everything else. So then what I did was I just connected with a bunch of scholarship people. They were coordinators or director of student services and all that other type of stuff. And then what wound up happening was I would receive a scholarship, and then I would try to rank the scholarship the next time. So if I received it in 2014, 2015, or 2016, I would also rank the scholarship. Or I would say, can you send me the information? And I've got student organizations I'm in. I'll send it to different students. So I help promote the scholarship. So after a while, I guess I just started getting branded as somebody that if we give him the scholarship money, he'll be a good brand ambassador. Now, I wasn't consciously doing this. I was just testing it, and it wound up working. And so I literally have not stopped doing that since. If I'm interested in a position at a job, the first place I go is LinkedIn.
Yes, sir.
Find out everybody that works there. And then as I'm naturally posting the stuff I'm naturally posting, especially if it's in education, now they mark me as somebody that's passionate with education. And I tell students all the time, social media is your own personal CNN.
Yeah.
Make sure you're reporting the news you want everybody to know. They don't have to know that you twerk or drink, but they do need to know that you do a lot of community service, because that gives you points for scholarships. And it was just something I tried. Nobody really told me to do it, and it just worked. And so I've been running with it since then.
That was the game right there, man. That was it right there. So now when you're doing this, and you're using the social media, you're getting out the post and building those relationships with the businesses, I mean, with the education or the schools or the people that's getting out these scholarships, that really goes to your point of saying education is nothing but big business. Like, I see it on my level, as in with the public education, kids in seats or money, right? That's how we get our funding. But we're taking it even bigger with the business, like marketing, promoting, branding. And so, man, how did you, like, when you talk to kids, how do you get that across to them and keep them focused on the bigger picture, like you say, which is the career versus getting caught up in the business side?
Normally when I'm working with a student, the very first thing I ask them is, what is their why? Why have they even thought about why they were born? And the reason being is because there's more money in knowing your why than all of the what's you may do. And the difference between the two is this. Somebody's making a bunch of noise in HBCUs, and that's Deion Sanders. Most people think that his why was to be an athlete. That was his what's. He's actually really living in his why now, which is impact. So he took his what and funded his why. And once he found out his why, his life, changed. Most people don't know that Deion Sanders, prime time, tried to commit suicide. Why? Because he had success in all of his what's, but he was still empty because he wasn't operating his why. So I always tell students, go with that first, because there's more money in your life. There's more satisfaction. There's a whole lot more stuff with your why than your what. Once you know that, then you answer the next question. Is formal education the way it currently is going to help or hurt your why? Because what will happen is, if you don't know that, you'll mess around and go into a college campus, and I worked at one. This is what happens. You show up, you speak to an advisor. You may be able to speak to that advisor once per semester, because they may have 3, 4, 5, 600 more other students. So if you don't know the right questions to ask the very first time you meet them, you're probably not going to see them for another 6 months, right? So you'll sign up for classes that you may not be prepared for. You'll sign up for a major that you may not be prepared for because you think it's going to make a lot of money, and you don't have a clue who actually works in that field, and don't know how many people really would love to quit that field. Prime example, education. There's a whole lot of people that want to touch people's lives in education, but half of the teachers want to quit, right? And so if you don't know your why, then you'll be stuck in the what. You'll mess around, be 40, 50, 60 years old, spend all of your life in a job that you hate, right? And it's going to affect those you love and everything else, when all you had to do was take all the time you need to concentrate on why you was born and then align your life. So me, I didn't know helping students was going to be my why. But what I didn't do is pay somebody to find out, to force me into a what that would screw up my why. Because of the way I did college, I was able to navigate, figure stuff out on somebody else's dime. So when I left college, I had my why, I had the alignment of my life. So now when I wake up in the morning, I basically do almost as close to what I want to do with the rest of my life currently. It's not the exact position I want, but truth be told, a lot of times you have to develop that position. It's not going to be sitting out there waiting for you, because you're born for a certain reason, and sometimes only you can develop the what you do to fulfill that reason. And so I tell students to do that first. It upsets a lot of parents, but oftentimes that parent, if they're truthful, they're not doing their why either. They just want their child to do better than them, which is admirable. But in college, you can make it worse. If you're forcing a kid to go to college and you don't know what you're doing, that kid doesn't know what he's doing, they will pay you to screw up. That's what a student loan is. It's paying you to screw up.
That's dope. Look, shout out to Nakia, man. Oh, hey, Nakia, this is great. I agree. The brother's dropping the gems. Come on, man. Look, man. So now when I think about that, and I think about the community that I serve in A-Leaf, right? Title I district. Sometimes I can't worry about the wow, the why, because like I gotta focus on what's gonna happen like the next 5 minutes. So when you talk to kids about scholarships and the bigger picture, how do you serve, if there's any difference in the way that you think about Title I and our background versus not? So is there any different way that you serve those students, or have to do anything different to help them see a different picture?
Normally it's convincing the parent.
Okay.
Normally. These students, the one thing they are they're far smarter than we give them credit for.
Most definitely.
And truth be told, they're so creative that if you stifle that creativity, which education does, unfortunately, then you're going to lose them. So I often ask them, what do you want to do? And let's try to find something close to it. Some of the stuff they want to do just doesn't exist right now. Social media marketing didn't exist except for like 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 years ago. And so if they want to be on TikTok the rest of life, social media marketing may be a good route for them to take. But often in our community, the problem is that we want our kids to do better, and sometimes that's chasing a title, and it winds up not being better for them. And I just try to convince the parents mostly that in the long run, letting them do what they need to do, it's probably going to work better for them. It may not look good in the short term, but it may work out in the long run. And then what I do is tell them, if you don't know, because you may be talking to a 16, 17, 18-year-old who most of their life at that point, it's all been told to them, what are you going to do? You have career fairs in elementary schools, and it's not, why are you born? It's, what do you want to grow up to be? Totally forgetting that your grown 20, hopefully, is different from your 40-20, and it may change. And so what I tell them is, if you don't know, then the smartest thing to do is, if you're going to go to school, pick the cheapest one. Take the less risk. And right now, community colleges, Houston Community College, they all are starting to develop what they call like a promise program. And basically what that is as long as you apply for financial aid, they're going to pay for your first 2 years of college. They want you to go through them to get an associate's degree. People who talk you out of that don't know the game. The smartest thing to do when it comes to college is to get the most credentials for the least amount of money. And if you do it right, they will literally pay you to get as many credentials as possible because they make money off of your credentials just like you do. And so if you don't know, and I'm talking to a student that has literally no clue, they want to be a rapper today, basketball player tonight, and a football player in the morning. All right, look, since this college is going to be free, try it out for a year and let them pay for it. Experiment on them. And then when you get in there, since they've already paid for it, why don't you look at some scholarships? Because since your tuition is paid for, your fees are paid for, now that scholarship money you get to pocket. So now you get to pay to play the way they do on you. You get to do it on them.
Come on, man.
And so I try to teach them how to do that part. And when they try to test that, then sometimes they run into a teacher or something like I did that sparks something that then we'll talk about something later on.
Yeah.
But in this instance, especially since enrollment and stuff is down, hey, if it's free, run with it.
That's it, man.
Just
When the
run
kids say, I totally agree. I speak to my son regularly about his goals and ambitions. I let him know I will support his choices, and as long as what he does is legal, I'm glad you had that
Amen to
legal
that.
part. Hey.
Amen
I
to that.
agree, Nikhil, most definitely. So, man, one big pillar of your program is finding the funds.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at the podcast, and at the moment, now, because I don't know, like you say, how much you charge for the services, but let's say I am that Title I kid,
Mm-hmm.
and I see what you're talking about tonight, but I just don't have the money yet.
Mm-hmm.
What are some things that I can do to maybe pregame before I even get ready to see you?
First check the federal financial aid. You'll be shocked how many students think they make too much money and they tell themselves that instead of letting the federal government tell them that.
Mm-hmm.
If you get the financial aid or what they call the Pell Grant, the good thing about that is you don't have to pay that back.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you apply? It's legitimately free money. So go there first. Secondly, go to the cheapest school. I know people would talk you out of the community colleges, but the truth of the matter is English 1301 is English 1301 everywhere. I don't care if you're taking it at Yale. English 1301 is English 1301. So why would you go pay Yale, University of Houston downtown, Texas A&M, Alabama, $1,400, $1,500, $3,000 for English 1301 when you can go pay $250 at a community college? And if it's financial aid, you may mess around and not only will the federal government pay that fee, you may get what's left. So when I went to school to take a full semester, it was $868 for the credits and the fees. Mm-hmm. You add on the books, you might have been looking at $1,500. The financial aid Pell Grant was cutting me a check because I was going full time of $2,800. Mm-hmm. So $2,800 minus $1,500 is what I pocketed. So why would I go to a university and give them all the money when for the very same class, not only is somebody else going to pay for it, but I can come out on top on that.
Yeah.
So even if you don't talk to me, you want to go to financial aid at community college first, right? Then the third one is a lot of these schools have what they call early college high school, which is basically with you going to high school and college at the same time. Mm-hmm. And normally it's for liberal arts or general studies, associate of arts, but that's 2 years out of your 4 years that you can knock out. So let's say at the end, you still have to get a student loan. It's better to get a student loan for your junior and senior year than it is for your freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year. You can knock out those first 2 years by either going to community college, early college, high school, even if you don't talk to somebody like myself. And I would go there first. Yeah.
That's it, man. All awesome information. And so, just wanted to kind of get those in there. So I know one of the pillars is finding the funds. Is there any way you can just drop the other ones on us just so we can kind of be abreast of the situation here?
The first one is just finding out your why. And truth be told is college is supposed to be a gas station on your way to success. It's not the destination. And so if you find out your why first, and then you line up basically your career path based upon your why, then you can figure out what major you want to take, and how college goes into that. And then there's finding the funds, and then there's networking and what you should do while you're in school. Most students, what they're told is to go to college. They're not taught how to go to college. And the education you want to get is more outside of the classroom in college than it ever is inside the classroom. I had the opportunity to go to Yale 2014, and I just so happened to do what I do and network with students. And I asked the guy, I said, why did you come to Yale? And he said, you don't come to Yale because it's Yale. No, you come to Yale because of who goes and who went to Yale. You're more likely to get an opportunity because you know the daughter of the CEO of the company that you want to go to, as opposed to your resume. It's easy when you can give the CEO your resume at Thanksgiving dinner, as opposed to trying to fight with everybody else. So what you should be doing in school, and then after that, just basically aligning your life. Once your life is aligned right and you re-engineer what success is for you, then college is easy. Then all the stuff that you're going to go through in college, it'll make sense. I was thinking about this today. If you know your why you're being born, why you're born, and why you're doing certain stuff, then you can handle all the what's, because life's job is to test your why. So when you go to college, there's going to be something that's got to happen to test your resolve on finishing. What happened to me was it would have been my last semester. I came home and my mom said, I've got something to tell you. And I told her, she didn't even tell me. I told her, I said, man, it's breast cancer. Now, this is February of my last semester. 2 weeks before that, I received a State Department scholarship to study abroad in China. So now I've got the opportunity to go study abroad in China. My mom had been to 44 countries, but I was going to be the first person in my family to ever go to China. 2 weeks later, found out she got breast cancer. And I was going to be gone for like a month that same summer. And so college is supposed to do that. Life is supposed to do that. And if I didn't know my why, I would have got swallowed up. I dropped 2 classes, don't get me wrong, and I still graduated. But had I not known where I was going and why I was doing it, I'd have gave up on school. And my mom said, no, breast cancer or not, you're going to China because you're supposed to change generations, so you're going. And then I get back and wind up graduating, but that curveball could have knocked me out. And if you don't know as a student, especially coming from a place of disappointment, Title I, you may not know what you're going to eat that day. So you're fighting daily. You're not fighting something random. You're fighting to get out. If you don't have a why, you're naturally going to get exhausted. And college or self-improvement, depending on what it is, that could be trade school, that could be a job. If you don't know your why, you can easily run out of endurance and give it up and be right back to where you was fighting to get out.
So, man, when you were getting them scholarships, just tell us, we all want to know, what is the largest scholarship you got?
The largest scholarship I got was $5,000. So my life came to a point where there was a lot of stuff that I was able to do that I was the last person to do it. So my name is stuck on it. So I received a scholarship from the National Society of Leadership and Success. It was for $5,000. The next semester, they closed that. So nobody else will be able to get that scholarship. It's now a category of scholarships. So when I get ready to apply for other scholarships, I could say I had a namesake scholarship, or I could say I was the first to do, to do this, that, and the third. So my largest was $5,000. The most impactful was probably the $3,000 I got from the Benjamin Gilman Scholarship. And the reason why was they paid for most of my expenses to study abroad in China and Taiwan. But when I got back, what they would do is they would reimburse me for any expenses I had or incurred for promoting their scholarship. So what did I do is I went everywhere to promote their scholarship. So at one point, I went to the state capitol and I promoted the scholarship. And a week later, that same week, they sent me an email, and literally, now this is from the State Department. The email had my name, subject, and literally said Atlanta or Phoenix. They flew me to Arizona State, paid for my flight, paid for my hotel 2 years after I graduated from college. So that same scholarship was still basically paying me
Yeah.
2 years out of school. So it's been the most impactful. So some people will tell you to go only for the big ones. I tell you go for as many as possible because a dollar less you have to pay is a dollar less you have to pay. So if it's $50, go for it. If it's 50,000, go for it. I know a young lady right now. She graduated from Virginia Tech, African American girl, and she graduated a semester early, stayed on campus, and walked off campus $200,000 up. So she got her degree, had a free semester of housing, and walked out of college $200,000 up. So it's possible.
So it's possible.
Even for us, it's possible.
Yeah, and the good thing is you can. There's no limit, or is there a limit? Help me if I'm wrong. To how many you can apply for and obtain in like a semester.
Listen, I tell students to always apply. A lot of students, what they'll do is their problem is not finding scholarships. A lot of times, sometimes it is, most of the time it's not. It's the fact that they don't think they can earn it. But I've actually sat with executive directors. I sat with one in San Antonio in 2017. I will never forget this. She said, I have $2.1 million for a nonprofit earmarked for scholarships. I legitimately have no students to give it to. Wow. Simply because nobody's applying. So it'll get to a point in a scholarship time period where they have to give the money away and they can't find students to give it to. And you can always tell when that happens is whenever you're paying attention to a scholarship and you see that they extend the deadline. That tells you right then and there they don't have enough students to apply.
They don't have enough students to qualify.
They don't have enough students to apply. And so when you see students that get millions of dollars to go to school, they get millions of dollars to go to school.
Yeah.
So I always tell students, apply regardless. Make them tell you no. And I got to a point where I just believed that they weren't going to tell me no.
Yeah. And
if they told me no, somebody in the room was going to find me a yes.
Okay. Come on,
Even
man.
if it was somebody else.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, and so once again, what place was that you said to go to be able to find like those scholarships? Is it one place where they're all housed, or do you have to kind of do independent searches?
You have to do independent searches, but the best place to go normally is the school website that you're interested in. Normally under the financial aid tab, they'll have a financial aid tab, and under there on the left-hand side, normally you may see another tab for scholarships. The bigger universities, they have a whole total different scholarship tab. Normally you just put on the search bar scholarships. And the good part is a lot of the schools that you're going to attend, they have what they call a general scholarship. So you don't have to be business major or nurse. They'll literally have what they call a general scholarship. And normally it's a 2.0 GPA and you have to be enrolled part-time, which is 2 classes. And you put in the application, and a lot of the schools, what they'll do is they'll take your application, they'll rank it up against other people's applications, and then they'll try to find in their database a scholarship for you.
Yeah.
All you have to do is apply. I know here in San Antonio for the community colleges, that's what they do. Well, I do it every year. They will rank a scholarship, rank an application, put it in there, say we think that they should be to get a scholarship, and then we leave it alone. The foundation will go look in their database for a scholarship that they can align with that student, and then they just send them a scholarship.
Come on, man. Like this, Nakia said, I heard years ago that it's better for your child to have a job and not claim them on your taxes for their last 2 years. I guess that's the last 2 years of high school so they can get financial aid based on their income. Is that true?
Financial aid is weird. It changes a lot because a lot of people like myself took advantage of them. I would go to the school and ask them. Sometimes it doesn't matter. Depending on the age, they'll go ahead and make you a dependent regardless. I think it could be up to 22, if not 23, regardless. It's probably better to get a job, even though it's a part-time job and get a W-2. But a lot of times it may not matter. It just really depends on the financial aid. The best thing to do is if you have a question, ask it. Go normally when it's slow. So if you're thinking about going in the fall to a college, go right around mid-June, late June. Because right around July 4th, then the late bloomers start kind of trying to tipping in. And then the people that are really late in August, they'll go into colleges and you won't be able to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about going in the spring, then you want to think right around after Thanksgiving, because that's normally graduation and finals. And most of the time, people are not worried about their financial aid at that time. They're worried about passing their class.
Yeah.
So that's normally the best 2 times to go. And then what I would do is follow a lot of the colleges' Facebook pages, stuff like that, because they'll announce stuff like financial aid Saturdays, or they'll announce Enroll Palooza, where you come in and they'll let you talk to an advisor and stuff like that. So if you do that, that's the better way to go. But I would just, when all else fails, apply. Make them tell you no.
Look, what Tamika say? Shout out to Tamika. Very good information. I agree. Straight bombs. And look, man, I wanted to get ready to start landing this plane, but before we do, in the title, I said a college loan-free plane, right? But when we talked in the pre, the biggest thing you said is sometimes it's not bad, because that may be the only way you get in. So talk to us a little bit about that statement and what you said to me.
So what happens is a lot of times in college, the culture says it but doesn't say it, and it's basically just make sure you pay for classes. So a lot of students think that if they get the student loan, then they're paid for classes. They don't have to really think about financing their education after that. It's probably the biggest mistake you ever make. And the reason being is because if you get a student loan, it'll take effect 6 months after your last class. So let's just say, for argument's sake, you go for 4 years, right? You got your student loans, it's paying for it. For whatever reason, you didn't get financial aid and you just didn't apply for scholarships. You now have to pay that student loan back. But what if you got your butt in school and student loan was the only way you do it, but now you get in there and you find out, wait a minute, me getting a student loan does not prevent me from applying for scholarships. So now you've got a couple of choices. You can start applying for scholarships and you can save that money. And then when the 6 months after you graduate come in, you can start paying the student loan with the scholarship money. Or you may see if you can start paying it then, or you have another option. You can invest it, try to make some money off of that, and then let the investment pay for your student loans. Student loans are not necessarily bad. They're bad if you pay for them, and they're bad if you get a degree that you don't use. And the student loan crisis is more about getting degrees you don't use and then having to pay for them than it is about the actual student loan. Get the student loan if that's what you have to do. The next thing you need to be thinking is, before you think about, your class schedule, syllabus, and all that other type of stuff, who is going to help me pay for the student loan? And if you go ahead and try to get scholarships, maybe you'll reverse it. The student loan is how you got in, but the scholarship is how you pay for it. So it doesn't matter how it works. You still didn't pay for your education. And so I've talked to students. I'll never forget that. I talked to this one student at University of Texas in San Antonio, and he asked me, was it morally wrong for him to apply for scholarships? And I knew something else was behind it. And I said, well, why would you say that? He said, well, I'm a trust fund baby. I said, congratulations. There's nothing wrong with that. You shouldn't be mad at that. I said, well, wait a minute, hold on, time out. When do you actually get the trust fund? He said, 22. I said, how old are you now? He said, I'm 19. I said, you're broke, player. What you need to do is get scholarships, because that trust fund ain't kicking in for another couple of years.
Yeah.
Right? And so sometimes, man, believe it or not, even I will apply for scholarships, just because even if I don't get them, because I know how scholarships work, some other student may not have gotten it if I hadn't applied, because they may not have had enough people to apply. So always apply. And I'll leave you with this tip. Keep all your scholarship essays. You cannot plagiarize yourself. And so what I used to do is I would write an essay for one scholarship and see if it would fit for another scholarship. And I would do that, take that same essay and recycle it every year. Okay. If you gave me the scholarship the year before and you didn't say that I couldn't get it again, guess who applied again? I did.
Yeah.
And guess what essay I used? The same one I used the year before. If it worked before, it should work now. It's far easier than what we make it. It's just that most of the time, people who have not earned scholarships are the one who's talking to you about it.
Yeah, there we go, man. Hey, that's it, man. Man, that remind me of DJ. People doing all the walking and the talking.
Oh yeah.
Hey.
Oh yeah. And like I want to be clear, education is not bad. Formal education is not bad. College is not bad. What makes it bad is the only guarantee that you get in college is that you got to pay for your classes. Nothing else is a guarantee. You're not guaranteed to get a degree, and you're not guaranteed that if you get a degree, you're going to get a job. The only thing guaranteed is that you got to pay for that class. So what you need to tell yourself is, I might as well try to pay for the class with somebody else's money and guarantee myself a check, because if all of this doesn't work out, if this experiment is stupid, it doesn't make any sense, and I don't get the job, at least I didn't walk out of here with a piece of paper I can't use.
That was the mic drop. That was the mic drop. Look, man, I appreciate that, man. So now, give us the contact information. How do we get more information on the Spark Ed? How do we find out what you have going on to get in the loop with you, Mr. Bryant?
Well, you can find me on Facebook. It's Spark-ED University. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on, I don't do a whole lot on Instagram, but we do have an Instagram page. You can find us on LinkedIn. We do have a company page, but you can also find me, and I'm under Naftali. My middle name is Tekoa, Tekoa, last name Bryant. And the reason that I have to put my middle name is because there is another Naftali Bryant on LinkedIn. And so we're connected. So I know when he speaks, he knows when I speak, because we both start getting connections. And just Google me with either one of those. I try to make 3 to 4 posts a day for anything that I've learned, either scholarship wise. If I find out about a scholarship, I put it out there. Or if I hear something in the news or something like that, I'm normally posting it. And then, just contact me there. I work during the day, like I said, and I'm newly married. So if you're going to send me something, send me an inbox, give me a couple of days, and I'll get back in contact with you.
Come on, man. That's it, man. Well, once again, congratulations on the marriage.
Thank you.
And just thank you again for stopping by and dropping so many jewels to the audience, man. We appreciate the work that you're doing, and we'll be tapping in, man, just in case we need some updates during this crazy loan forgiveness time.
Oh yeah. And like I said, man, any wisdom I will leave you is the more you learn why you were born, the easier it is for you to make your capacity of wealth. Education formally may be part of that, but you have to accept sometimes it's just not, because it's not big enough for how big you were born to be. And so before you make that decision, and it's probably one of the greatest decisions besides who you marry, then make sure you take your time, whether you're a parent, whether you're non-traditional students we didn't even talk about, or if you're a high school kid coming out, it's okay to take a year before you decide to go to college to make sure you do it right. Anything you're rushed into doing, you're probably missing something. And whoever's rushing you is going to make more off of you than you're going to make from yourself. And so take your time, make sure you do the research, visit as many colleges as you can. But the whole concept and mindset is to get as many credentials as you can for as cheap as you can do it.
That's it,
And
man.
so if it all doesn't work out as far as the degree, you didn't spend that much money anyway.
Hey, there we go. Look, hey, that's it, man. Y'all heard the man. All right, brother. Once again, man, I sure appreciate you. And I look forward to getting this grind together, man, Mr. Bryant.
Oh, yeah, man. Thank you for having me.
That's it. All right, y'all. This is KT for KTTV signing out. 100.
This is Darnell with Broadcast Houston.
This is Dr. Tamara Beckford.
Hey, this is Candace.
This is London Underwood.
This is Kirsten Bass with Inner City Greens, and you're watching.
Y'all are now tuned in to
KTTV.
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 KTTV. Is that right?